Every year, numerous players are dealt in the NHL. The reasons behind these deals can vary, including a team all in for a playoff push, a lack in performance for a player that may need to change of scenery, addressing a hole in the lineup, or simply a salary dump, to name a few. All these listed factors present themselves in the most outrageous lopsided trades in NHL history. Deals on the forefront that may have looked sensible, but down the road left a lasting regret that would haunt a team and their fan base for years on end. Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we will be taking a look at the most lopsided trades over the past decade in the NHL. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. If you end up enjoying this kind of hockey content, share it with your friends, and also make sure to let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. As always, without further ado, let's get right into this video. On February 18th of 2011, the Boston Bruins would trade forward Blake Wheeler and defenseman Mark Stewart to the Atlanta Thrashers for defenseman Boris Volobik and Rich Peverley. Volobik would go on to never play a game in Boston, while Peverley would spend 3 seasons only, including 46 points in just 127 games, while Mark Stewart would have a very strong stint with the Winnipeg and Thrashers organization in 7 seasons, racking up 53 points in 390 games as a very sound stay-at-home defenseman, and Blake Wheeler would go on to have an illustrious career, a late bloomer if you will. In 10 seasons to date with the Winnipeg Jets and Thrashers organization, he has racked up 651 points in just 710 games, including 7 straight seasons to date with at least 20 goals and 60 points, and has had 91 point seasons in the 17-18 season and 18-19 season. Truly amazing numbers, and has now found himself as an all-star and has been a captain for multiple years for a Winnipeg Jets team that has truly been dominant on the offensive side of things for multiple years now. Wheeler, a player who really took a couple years to find his game, truly found it during his time in Winnipeg and looks to continue thriving as the captain for the Jets in the coming years as they are in this win now stage, and Wheeler has truly been an amazing leader for them over these past 5 to 10 years and is only getting better with age, it seems. On February 21st of 2011, the Dallas Stars would trade away forward James Neal and defenseman Matt Niskanen to the Pittsburgh Penguins in return for defenseman Alex Goligoski. Goligoski would go on to have a fine campaign in Dallas over a 6-year span, had a total of 187 points in 385 games as a very solid two-way defenseman, but just really didn't meet the means of what it would take for this trade to be balanced. Matt Niskanen really took the Penguins by storm in the final season with him over the 4-year span, in which he had 85 points in 214 games played as another strong puck-moving defenseman that could command the power play alongside Chris Letang, but really didn't come into his own when it came to point production until his final season with the club, in which he racked up 46 points. James Neal just was absolutely fantastic during his 4-year stint in Pittsburgh. Whether you loved him or hate him, had 184 points in just 199 games. In his first full season with the Penguins in 2011 and 2012, Neal racked up a total of 81 points in 80 games, including 40 goals and 41 assists. The following season, he would have 36 points in 40 games, and then would have 61 points in 59 games. Neal would go on to be the biggest piece into being dealt to the Nashville Predators for Patrick Hornqvist, which would be a huge factor into the Penguins' back-to-back Stanley Cup winning runs over this past 5 years. Looking back, it's safe to say that James Neal alone is worth far more than Alex Goligoski when we're looking at things 50-50, and while Alex is not a bad defenseman by any stretch of the imagination, and has been solid during his stint with the Arizona Coyotes now over these past couple years, by no means does his value match the equal to of Niskanen and Neal. On June 24th of 2011, the Minnesota Wild would trade away defenseman Brent Burns and a 2012 second-round pick to the San Jose Sharks for forwards Devin Setaguchi, Charlie Coyle, and a 2011 first-round pick. This at the time was quite the blockbuster in the 2011 draft, as you had Brent Burns going as a very solid defenseman, the best defenseman for the Minnesota Wild to date, to the San Jose Sharks, and a key goal-scoring winger in Devin Setaguchi heading to the Minnesota Wild. Things just did not work up to par when it came to Setoguchi and his time in Minnesota. It was quite short-lived. In only 2 seasons with the club, he racked up just 63 points in 117 games, but Charlie Coyle, on the other hand, had a very strong career with Minnesota, in which in 7 seasons racked up 242 points in 479 games, and had a career-high season with Minnesota back in the 16-17 season, which he racked up 56 points. Since then, however, for the past year and a half, Charlie Coyle has been dealt to the Boston Bruins and returned for Ryan Donato, who really didn't solidify himself with the Minnesota Wild, has found himself dealt already this NHL offseason to the San Jose Sharks, no less. And the first round pick that was acquired by the Minnesota Wild in the 2011 draft ended up being Zach Phillips, who never played a game in the NHL. Brent Burns, on the other hand, would truly be something to watch. In 9 seasons to date with the San Jose Sharks, Burns has put up an amazing 511 points in 660 games, both as a winger and a defenseman. And yes, you heard that right, a winger and a defenseman. During the span of 2013 and 2014 in particular, the San Jose Sharks utilized Brent Burns as a winger, and trust me, it worked. It actually did. He put up some very strong numbers, and since then transitioning into a full-time defenseman again, has found himself as a Norris winner in the 16-17 season. But Burns has solidified himself as easily one of, if not the best puck-moving defenseman in the NHL this past decade, racking up a career high in points just a year ago in the 18-19 season, which he had 16 goals, 67 assists for 83 points in 82 games, has had 7 straight seasons to date with at least 10 goals and 45 points in a season, and has also put up some fantastic numbers in 15-16 season and 16-17 in particular, which he had 27 goals that first season for a total of 75 points and 29 goals for a total of 76 points in the 16-17 season, in which he won the Norris as a defenseman. Truly remarkable video game like numbers for a defenseman as a power play quarterback, and 5-on-5 just has some of the best skills offensively speaking out of all the defensemen in the NHL. Burns, now a Norris winner and a 6-time All-Star, has found himself in some elite company as one of the better offensive defensemen the NHL has ever seen, and while he hasn't had a fantastic season this past year and hasn't necessarily lived up to his contract per se with his defensive game, there is no question that this deal was by far a massive win, a lopsided one no less, between the Minnesota Wild and the San Jose Sharks just almost a decade ago. On June 22nd of the 2012 NHL Draft, the Philadelphia Flyers traded away young goaltender and Sergei Bobrovsky to the Columbus Blue Jackets for 3 different draft picks: the 2nd round draft pick, the 12th round draft pick, both in 2012, and then their 2013 4th round pick. As the Flyers had some crucial decisions to make into what goaltender they would like to go with in the future between Bobrovsky and Ilya Bryzgalov, they chose Bryzgalov, and we know the story there.
It's only a game. Why you have to be mad?
But when we get onto the draft picks in particular, you have Anthony Stolarz drafted in the 2nd round in 2012, a solid AHL goaltender, but really hasn't amounted to much at the NHL level. In the 4th round in 2012, they draft forward Taylor Lear, who had 7 points in 55 games played in the AHL over his 3-season span with the Flyers. And then you also have the 4th round pick in 2013, which amounted to nothing. And with the Columbus Blue Jackets, they get a franchise-altering goaltender and a 2-time Vezina winner in Sergei Bobrovsky. In Sergei's debut season with the Columbus Blue Jackets as their next starter, he wins the Vezina. Talk about a smack in the face to the Philadelphia Flyers in this trade, more than some of the others that you may have seen in today's video. But in the 2012-2013 season, he wins the Vezina, and through a 7-season span in Columbus, he has a total of 213 wins, 130 losses, 27 overtime losses, a goals allowed average of 2.41, and a save percentage of 921. And his best season to date in Columbus happened in the 16-17 season, in which he won his 2nd Vezina, racking up 41 wins, 17 losses, 5 overtime losses, a goals allowed average of 2.06, and a save percentage of 931. Bobrovsky went on to be a fantastic goaltender for the Columbus Blue Jackets. While he had some wishy-washy playoff performances to date, he really put up some great numbers that led him to the massive contract he received this past in the 2019 offseason for the Florida Panthers, in which it has not lived up to date by any means at 7 years, around $70 million, but no less. Fantastic numbers for Bobrovsky, and truly the steal of a lifetime for the Columbus Blue Jackets. On April 3rd in 2013, the Washington Capitals, looking to help bolster the roster for the playoffs, add veteran forward Martin Erat and forward Michael Latta in return for Philip Forsberg, their coveted prospect. Everything basically went wrong for Erat as soon as he landed in Washington. Over a 2-season span, not fully, in just 62 games played, had 27 points, including just 2 goals. Latta never really panned out into the NHL level. Over a span of 3 different seasons, had just 17 points in 113 games played. Philip Forsberg, on the other hand, well, we all know the story by now. Playing in 8 seasons thus far, really even though it's 6 full seasons with the Nashville Predators, has solidified himself as one of the most consistent goal scorers in the NHL today, and has been for years now. He has racked up 353 points in just 458 games played, and has had 6 straight seasons with at least 20 goals and 48 points on his resume. The All-Star winner has really been one of the biggest faces of the franchise for the Nashville Predators throughout their deep playoff runs over these past 5 years, having the Stanley Cup Finals appearance against the Pittsburgh Penguins, among others. He has truly been remarkable and still in the prime of his career. Even with having a slight down year in the past 2019-2020 season, I fully expect him to continue to dominate and really have the potential to easily be a continuous 30-plus goal scorer at the NHL level. Also on April 3rd of 2013, the Ottawa Senators trade away a goaltender that really just wasn't fit for the team, with guys like Robin Lehner and Craig Anderson in front of him, and that is Ben Bishop. Bishop is sent off to Tampa Bay in return for Corey Conacher, the speedy forward who had been strong at the AHL level and at the NHL level over the past year, and also a 2013 4th-round pick. Conacher, who put up 24 points in 35 games with Tampa Bay the year prior, was looking to bring some strong elements besides his speed game and an overall gritty game in that offensive zone, but simply just did not pan out at the NHL level consistently, let alone with Ottawa. In only 2 seasons span with Ottawa, he racked up just 25 points in 72 games, including just 6 goals. And now you can catch Corey Conacher really since the 2016-2017 season in the AHL for the Tampa Bay Lightning once again as part of the Syracuse Crunch, and also being a fringe NHL player. Ben Bishop, on the other hand, is a completely different story. He's looked at one of the best goaltenders in the entire NHL for the past 7 years, really, and over the past 5 years, in the 5-year span at least with Tampa Bay during those 5 seasons, he racked up 131 wins, 64 losses, 20 overtime losses, a goals allowed average of 2.28, and a save percentage of .921. Bishop also had 3 straight seasons in which he had 35 plus wins, including his first season fully as the starter for Tampa Bay. Truly remarkable numbers, and his best season to date in Tampa Bay was back in the 15-16 season, arguably, where he had 35 wins, 21 losses, 4 overtime losses, a goals allowed average of 2.06, and a save percentage of .926. Bishop not just solidified himself as that #1 goaltender in Tampa, but dominant in doing so, having phenomenal playoff stints helping Tampa to some very deep runs in the playoffs during the early 2010s. And since then has been dealt a couple times, in which you can make into the argument to have a separate video about him being traded away for nothing again when he was dealt to the LA Kings as part of that Budai deal, and then he found himself then traded to the Dallas Stars for just a draft pick from LA, and now he has solidified himself again and has continued to as a strong #1 goaltender, besides the injuries that he has sustained in recent years. It was only fitting for the 4th of July in 2013 for the Boston Bruins and the Dallas Stars to really go out with a bang, having a blockbuster 7-player trade, including their Boston Bruins young star forward in Tyler Seguin, their seasoned forward in Rich Peverley, and their prospect Ryan Bunn being sent off to the Dallas Stars in return for veteran star Louis Eriksson and 3 prospects, including Joseph Morrow, Matt Frazier, and Riley Smith. The Boston Bruins acquired a star veteran in Louis Eriksson, who had some strong numbers in his short stint with the Boston Bruins. Over a 3-season span, had 147 points in 224 games, and had his best season in his walk year in the 15-16 season with Boston, where he racked up 63 points, including 30 goals. And of the 3 prospects that were returned going to Boston's way, only one of them really stood out. But to start off with Joseph Morrow, the defenseman, really only had a cup of coffee in the AHL, 65 games played, 9 points over 3 seasons, really a fringe NHL starter to say the least. And then you also have Matt Frazier, a left winger, who only played in part of 2 seasons with the Boston Bruins, in which he had 5 points in a 38-game span. but the guy who stood out the most by far was Riley Smith. The coveted winger put up some strong numbers in his debut season with Boston, including 51 points and then 40 points the year after, for a total of 91 over 163 game span for 2 years, before then being traded off as part of a salary dump for Marc Savard's contract to the Florida Panthers in return for Jimmy Hayes. Since then, Riley Smith has been dealt again as part of the expansion draft with the Vegas Golden Knights, and has really solidified himself as a consistent 20-plus goal scorer in the NHL today. And when you look back on it, definitely more deserving of being simply part of a salary dump along with Marc Savard's contract. Going to the Dallas Stars, Ryan Bunn didn't play a game in the NHL, but Rich Peverley, he did have a strong stint in his final stint of his career, no less, for the Dallas Stars, in which he put up 30 points in 62 games played, but eventually led to his retirement as he collapsed on the bench. And I remember that game like it was yesterday. It was absolutely crazy seeing that happen live in one of the games in that final season for Rich Peverley, which ultimately led to his retirement. But a strong short stint in Dallas, no less. But Tyler Seguin is what stands out the most, and it's not even close. It's safe to say that the Boston Bruins gave up on Tyler Seguin just a little too soon, given his type of play style. Since then, in 7 seasons with the Dallas Stars, he has racked up 514 points in 538 games played, has had a total of at least 70 points in 6 of the past 7 seasons with the Dallas Stars. He has been a 6-time All-Star in doing so. His career high season, he had 37 points and 37 goals, 47 assists for 84 points, and his debut season with Dallas, he had 80 points just back in the 18-19 season. While he did have a slight down year in the 2019-2020 season, Seguin is still in the prime of his career as a fantastic playmaker and a ruthless goal scorer. When he is on with his game, he is truly something remarkable, and he has been a crucial part to the Dallas Stars and their success over this past 5+ years, helping them lead to the Stanley Cup Finals, in which they faltered to the Tampa Bay Lightning, even when Seguin dealt with a plethora of injuries. From winning the Stanley Cup just coming into the NHL with the Boston Bruins and Tyler Seguin, things just didn't work out for his time in Boston. They gave up on him simply too soon, and it's probably one of the biggest regrets that the Boston organization has had in recent memory, or definitely throughout their entire lifetime as an organization. On June 26 of 2015 in the NHL draft, infamous GM for the Edmonton Oilers at the time, Peter Chiarelli, yes, Peter Chiarelli, made one of the soon-to-be multiple moves that would lead to his firing, but not soon enough as GM for Edmonton, as he trades away his 2015 first-round pick and second-round pick for a prospect that had yet to really show his transition to pro hockey, and Griffin Reinhart, who was a high draft pick defenseman back in 2012. This would ultimately backfire like never before, and truly one of the multiple trades that Chiarelli would make. And I simply don't have them all in this video for you, but Reinhart would only spend 1 season with the Edmonton Oilers, racking up just 1 point in 29 games played. An offensively minded defenseman in juniors who had fantastic numbers, but really struggled with his skating and transition game, found himself out of the NHL sooner than his career even started, and has since then been playing in the KHL and other parts of Europe since then. But then when you get onto the draft picks that go the Islanders' way, boy are they something. That first round draft pick ultimately becomes Matthew Barzal, the star centerman who is now the face of the franchise for the New York Islanders, as since the departure of their former captain and John Tavares. Barzal, in the 3 seasons with the Islanders to date, has 207 points in 234 career games played, won the Calder in his rookie year back in the 17-18 season, in which he racked up 85 points, including 22 goals and 63 assists, and has had at least 60 points in each and every season in the NHL to date. And that second round pick would ultimately be traded away to the Tampa Bay Lightning, so the Islanders never even got a player with that pick, but it ended up being Mitchell Stevens, who just had his first season in the NHL with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Matthew Barzal, truly a phenomenal talent who's currently awaiting a new contract at the time of recording this, a fantastic playmaker with such deceptive speed in that offensive zone, such nimble agility and great skating overall. The face of the franchise for the New York Islanders, and will be for as long as they keep him. Truly an amazing talent, and it leaves you wondering what the Edmonton Oilers could have been like if they had not had Peter Chiarelli as their GM during the 2010s. June 29th of 2016, the trade every single person watching this knows about already, and that is the 1-for-1 Taylor Hall from the Edmonton Oilers, the Star Young winner, would be traded off for defenseman to the New Jersey Devils and Adam Larsson. As soon as this trade was made, everyone was basically under the same understanding that it was lopsided. But no one really would have expected just how lopsided it would be, for the most part, in the years to come. Adam Larsson, spending 4 seasons to date with the Edmonton Oilers, hasn't been a terrible defenseman by any stretch of the imagination, but between injuries and lack of consistency in his overall transition game, hasn't been anything fancy either. He's racked up 58 points in 273 games played, and has not broken the 20-point plateau as a two-way / more defensively minded defenseman in the NHL. Versus a guy like Taylor Hall, who for me personally, I've absolutely loved during his time in juniors, leading up to himself being drafted first overall by the Oilers back around a decade ago. In 4 seasons with the New Jersey Devils, had something to prove, in which he put up 208 points in just 211 games. The most notable season, which we all know and covet, is in the 17-18 season, where Hall put up video game-like numbers, including 93 points in just 76 games, with 39 goals and 54 assists. He won the Hart Trophy that year, became an All-Star, and led the New Jersey Devils to a playoff berth, and really was the face of the Devils for the entirety of his stint with New Jersey up until his departure this past year, in which he was traded from the Arizona Coyotes, and has since then signed a 1-year deal with the Buffalo Sabres, given the flat market. But overall, Taylor Hall is an amazing talent, truly fantastic as a playmaker with a burst of speed that is truly like no other, and even with the injuries that he has endured within the past couple years, is still one of the best wingers in the game today. And what a story it is to see a guy of his caliber not just be traded away at so young in his career, just the age of 24, but a 1-for-1 for a defenseman that was never on the same level, even remotely close to what Hall can bring in his prime. And that's going to conclude this video, guys, so make sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you agree with my most lopsided trades for the past decade or not? I know that there are plenty of others I could have discussed. I just want to make sure that I had enough time to get this video done, because 1, it took a while, and 2, I just simply couldn't get every trade in. If I want to add it a little bit more, just give some honorable mentions, if you will, but could definitely be deserving in this video. Just couldn't get to it. Were guys like Nino Niederreiter for Cal Clutterbuck, or Devin Dubnyk when he was traded from the Arizona Coyotes to the Minnesota Wild. That was another fantastic trade. 2 wild trades. I really could have done a whole video on them in itself, but I want to know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, guys, make sure to check out previous videos I'll have in the end screen right down here. If you want to check out my prospects playlist, do that. If you want to check out my previous video right down here, make sure you do that as well. But thank you so much, guys. Help us get 3,000 subscribers. It would really mean a lot. And if you are in fact a baseball fan or a Mets fan, make sure to check out in the description down below my new baseball channel as well. So thank you all so much, guys. It means an absolute ton. Hit like, hit subscribe, share this video with your friends. I'll see you again real soon.